Today's lesson is going to focus on lateral surface area. So previously, when we had our e-learning days, we talked about how to find the surface area of a rectangular prism by adding up the areas for all the sides. You have this side here, this side here, this side here, and then a matching side on the bottom, a matching side on the left, and a matching side in the back. And we had to add all those together to find the total surface area. But that takes a long time. And if you have a shape that has a lot of sides as the base, so like a hexagon or an octagon, it's going to take a very long time to find the area by adding all of that together. So we're going to take a couple days to put together a surface area formula that will work for all kinds of prisms. Remember, a prism is a shape that has a three-dimensional shape that has bases that are polygons, and then the rest of the sides, our faces, are rectangles. When we're talking about this idea now called lateral surface area, what that means is we have to think about the prism in terms of the base and then in terms of the height. And the height is the lateral part. The base is actually the most difficult to identify in a rectangular prism because the base can be any of the sides. So when we're talking about a rectangular prism, usually we're talking about the top and the bottom. And the height is the distance between the bases. So if we're looking at this shape right here, and we wanted to say that this is a base, that means that underneath, right, this square or rectangle that's right here, this is the other base. And then the distance between the two bases is our height. And when we're talking about the lateral surface area, which is what we're talking about today, we are focusing on this area around, the area that does not include the bases. So I'm going to slide down here. Lateral surface area does not include the areas of bases. So in the case of our shape right here, that means that we're not going to count this right here, and we're not going to count this here. We're just looking at the 1, 2, on the side 3, on the side 4 rectangles around the outside. And there's actually a really nice and easy way that we can find that. This perimeter around the outside of the base would be the same distance, or it includes the distance that goes for each of these rectangles, right? This distance goes with this rectangle, this distance goes with this rectangle, this distance goes with the rectangle on the side, and this distance goes with this rectangle on the side. If we take the perimeter, which is the entire distance around, so it's the lengths of all these rectangles, and we multiply it by the height, we're going to get the area for all 4 of these shapes. All we need to do is take this perimeter that's around the outside and multiply it by this height, and we're going to get the area that wraps around all 4 of these sides. That's going to give us our lateral surface area formula. Lateral surface area is the perimeter times height. This is your lateral surface area. This is your perimeter of base. And this is the height of prism. I want us to try this out with a triangle instead of a rectangle so we can see how it's a little bit different. So there's going to be my triangular prism. What makes this a little different is that this triangle is not going to have a top and a bottom. Instead, it's going to have like a front, and then back here, it's going to have that back. These two are our bases. And if you look here, the base being this triangle back here. But if you look, woo, now it's gone. If you look at this shape here, this is a rectangle. And there's actually another rectangle on this side here. And there's another rectangle on the bottom here. When we're finding the lateral surface area, we're finding the area of those rectangles. And we need to do the perimeter of the base times the height. So I haven't given this any dimensions yet. Let's give it some dimensions. Let's go with here's 6, here's 7, and here's 8 around the triangle right here. And then we'll make this 10. So the first thing we need to do is find the perimeter of the base. The perimeter means to go all the way around, which means we're going to have to do 6 plus 7 plus 8. Then we're going to have to multiply it by the height, which is the distance between the bases. In that case, or in this case rather, it's this right here. So that's going to be our height of 10. Now we have to add all of these together. 6 plus 7 plus 8. 7 plus 8 is 15. 15 plus 6 is 21. 21 times 10, that's going to give us 210 as our lateral surface area. If you were given units, since this is an area, it would be square units, so like square inches, square meters, square millimeters, etc. But currently, since there's no units, we're just going to focus on getting the number. Let's do one more lateral surface area problem. This time I will do it with a rectangle. We'll get our rectangle back. Or a rectangular prism, rather. Okay. So here's my rectangular prism, and let's give it some dimensions. Let's give it dimensions of, we'll use 5, 6, and 7. Okay. So when you are doing something with a rectangular prism, first you have to pick what is the base. And that's because any of the rectangles can be the base as long as you are consistent. I'm going to pick this as my base because it's a rectangle and I like to look at the top and the bottom as bases. So if we're going to find the lateral surface area, we need the perimeter of the base times the height. We're only given 2 numbers here, but that's okay. If this is a rectangle, I'm just going to draw this down here. It's not to scale, but it'll do. 6 and 5, well, that means that this side is also 5, and that side's also 6. So our perimeter is 6 plus 5 plus 6 plus 5, or 11 plus 11, which is 22. And then the height right here is 7. So we have 22 times 7. A way you can do this pretty quickly is 20 times 7, and then you add that to 2 times 7. 2 times 7 is 14. 20 times 7 is 140. So that's going to quickly give us 100. 4 plus 1 is 5, and 0 plus 4 is 4. So our lateral surface area is 154. Just as a reminder, the lateral surface area does not include the bases. We're going to get to that in the next couple days. So just to recap, your lateral surface area is just finding the distance around. It does not include the areas of the bases. It's like a label on a soup can. It goes around, it doesn't count the top and the bottom. You find the lateral surface area by taking the perimeter of the base, multiplying it by the height. So in this case of this triangle, our base was 6 plus 7 plus 8 times the height of 10. And in this rectangular prism, we chose the top to be the base. So then we had to do 6 plus 5 plus 6 plus 5. And that gave us a perimeter of 22. And then our height of 7, we multiplied to get 154.